The movie begins with Katie waking up to the sound of her daughter, Lisa, calling her. Katie then takes Lisa to school on her bike, promising to pick her up 10 minutes before 5 p.m. After dropping her off, Katie heads to work at a factory. While working, Katie notices a group of men entering the factory, exchanging glances with one of them. During her break, she spots the same man and his friends in the cafeteria. A colleague catches Katie looking at him and comments that the guy, named Paco, isn't particularly good-looking. She steps outside for a smoke, and Paco follows. They introduce themselves, sharing flirty glances while Katie helps him light his cigarette, and they become intimate in the restroom. Afterward, they part ways, and Katie returns to work. Her supervisor, noticing her absence, questions where she's been, as her break ended a while ago. Katie makes an excuse and is told to get back to her station. She begins to feel strange and suddenly faints. When she wakes up and she's late to pick up Lisa, Katie rushes to her daughter, apologizing for being held up at work. She realizes she forgot Lisa's helmet and gives her own to Lisa before they head home. The next day, Katie takes Lisa to school as usual. After work, Katie notices Paco waiting for her at the factory gates. He offers her a cigarette, but she declines. Katie tells him that what happened between them the other day was a mistake and not something she usually does. Paco responds by saying he doesn't normally smoke either. Later that evening, Katie gets ready to go out and Lisa asks where she's headed. Katie explains that she's going to a restaurant with some friends and tells Lisa to get ready for bed. At the restaurant, Paco arrives late and apologizes to Katie. They sit down and talk about their lives, including Lisa's father, who didn't want Katie to have the baby. Paco opens up about his past, revealing that he was once married in Spain. After dinner, they head back to Katie's home, where they become intimate once again. Meanwhile, Lisa, who hasn't fallen asleep, hears her mom come back and the noise that follows. In the morning, Lisa goes to her mom's room, only to find that Katie is already up. Lisa walks to the dining area and sees her mother with Paco. Paco tries to speak to Lisa, but she doesn't respond and runs back to her room. Katie, feeling embarrassed, apologizes to Paco for Lisa's behavior. She then goes to Lisa's room and sits down to talk with her, telling her that Paco will be staying with them and that they will all become a family. The next morning, Lisa takes the bus to school and spots her mom and Paco riding Katie's bike together. She tries to wave at them, but they don't notice her. One day at work, Paco receives the news that Katie has been hospitalized, and it turns out that she has given birth. Rushing to the hospital, Paco asks Lisa what she would like to name the baby. Lisa suggests the name Ricky, but when Paco inquires about her choice, she simply replies that she doesn't know why she picked it. The doctor informs them that Katie has had a healthy baby boy, and soon they are discharged from the hospital. Lisa excitedly shows her mom her room, which she has decorated with Ricky's crib placed inside. Paco takes Lisa to school, and she returns home on the bus. One day, after school, Lisa spots Paco talking to another woman outside their apartment building. Feeling uneasy and unnoticed, she runs inside. Lisa asks her mom when they'll have dinner. Katie responds that they have to wait for Paco. Just then, Paco arrives, and Katie confronts him, questioning why he didn't call to let her know where he was. Paco admits he was hanging out with someone, but Katie feels hurt that he didn't think to inform her, and a heated argument erupts between them. And while Katie and Paco are too absorbed in their own anger to notice, Ricky begins to cry. Lisa takes it upon herself to comfort her baby brother. That night, Katie lies in bed trying to sleep, and Paco asks if she's still mad. So Paco opens up about how stressful work has been lately. Katie empathizes, understanding the pressure of managing bills, and reassures him that things will improve soon, as she is starting work the next day to help out financially. They resolve their argument. The next day, Katie begins her shift at work, leaving Paco in charge of Ricky. Paco prepares a bottle for the baby. When Ricky starts fussing, Paco feeds him and changes his diaper, but despite his efforts, Ricky continues to cry. Katie and Lisa return home to find Paco holding Ricky, who has fallen asleep in his arms. Katie gently takes Ricky for a bath. He offers to help Lisa with her homework, and she agrees, teasing him about his French skills. Paco explains that while he has a Spanish accent, he's fluent in French. As Katie bathes Ricky, she notices a bruise on his back and calls Paco over to ask how it happened. Paco insists he didn't drop the baby and has no idea how Ricky got the bruise. Concerned, Lisa overhears and asks what's wrong with Ricky, but Katie brushes it off for the time being. That night, after Paco leaves for his night shift, Ricky becomes fussy again. Katie removes his onesie and finds another bruise on the opposite side of his back. The next morning, Katie confronts Paco as soon as he comes home from work, accusing him of hurting their son. Furious and feeling wrongly blamed, Paco grabs his belongings and leaves in a huff. Later that day, Katie returns from her own shift and asks Lisa, who is watching Ricky, to bring him from his crib for feeding. To their shock, shock, Lisa runs back saying Ricky isn't in his crib. They find blood in the crib, but Lisa insists no one has entered the room. Suddenly, they hear babbling and discover Ricky sitting atop a wardrobe. Mystified as to how he got there, Katie tries to gently bring him down, but he falls. Two bloody, limb-like structures extend from his back. Katie and Lisa bathe Ricky and then return him to the crib, this time securing a sheet over it to prevent him from climbing onto the wardrobe again. At dinner, Katie warns Lisa not to mention anything about Ricky's wings at school, emphasizing that he is different. That night, Katie nearly calls Paco but stops herself. Feeling overwhelmed, she measures Ricky's wings and notices they've grown even more. She attempts to tape them down with paper tape to keep them hidden under his clothes, but the wings keep tearing the tape. Katie and Lisa alter Ricky's shirts to make room for them. Ricky flaps his featherless wings curiously. Lisa, wide-eyed, asks Katie if Ricky will ever fly. But as time passes, Ricky's wings begin to grow feathers, and his transformation becomes even more pronounced. One day, Lisa spots Paco outside her school. He asks about Katie and Ricky, showing some concern. Tells him Ricky is doing fine before her bus arrives. Katie, desperate to better understand her son's condition, visits the library to find books about wings. She also picks up supplies. Back home, they child-proof the apartment, especially the furniture. They outfit him with safety gear. Despite their efforts, after some time practicing, Ricky falls onto the couch, bruising his wings. Concerned, Katie applies salve to soothe his injuries. A stroke of luck hits when Katie wins some money from the lottery. They go shopping at the supermarket. Katie and Lisa momentarily leave Ricky in a trolley to buy a doll for Lisa, but when they return, Ricky is flying inside the supermarket, causing a scene as shoppers stop to watch. Katie and Lisa rush after him, but it becomes chaotic as people are told to evacuate the building. The police arrive, attempting to capture Ricky, but his unpredictable flying makes it difficult. Eventually, they turn off the lights in the store, disorienting Ricky enough for them to catch him. Katie and Lisa wait anxiously in the hospital's visitor lounge while Ricky is being examined by a doctor. Katie is called into the doctor's office. He informs her that Ricky is an enigma, something no one has seen before, and he suggests running further tests. He even hints at keeping Ricky in the hospital for more examinations, but Katie refuses. The doctor offers to help them sneak out of the hospital. Their exit is spotted by journalists who had caught wind of the strange events at the supermarket to escape through the hospital's basement and into a waiting taxi that the doctor had arranged. Back home, their situation worsens. Neighbors, now aware of Ricky's unique abilities, gather outside their building, begging Katie to show them the boy. As they settle in, they turn on the TV only to find their neighbors giving interviews about them, fueling the media frenzy. That night, Katie grows frustrated with the situation, taking her anger out on Ricky. She blames him for all the chaos and instructs Lisa not to attend to him when he starts fussing. Reporters continue to camp outside their building through the night. The next morning, Lisa wakes up to Ricky crying in his crib. She unpins the sheet that's covering the crib, freeing Ricky. Lisa hears a knock on the door while Katie is in the shower. She tells her mom, who warns her not to open it for the reporters, but it turns out to be Paco. Katie steps out of the bathroom and tells Lisa to give them some privacy. Katie asks Paco if he's back for good. As their conversation turns more intimate, they begin kissing and become physically close once again. Meanwhile, Lisa, sitting with Ricky, talks to him about Paco coming back into their lives, and Ricky babbles back in response. Paco later asks Katie if he can see Ricky. Before showing him, Katie confronts Paco, questioning him about his whereabouts since he left. He admits that he had been in Paris, working odd jobs at a restaurant and doing plumbing. When Katie accuses him of being with another woman, Paco agrees but insists it wasn't anything serious. Katie takes Paco to Lisa's room, where Ricky is resting. Ricky becomes visibly agitated upon seeing Paco, an unfamiliar figure, and starts flying wildly around the room, almost crashing into the walls. In the chaos, Paco manages to grab Ricky's leg and bring him back down, but they notice a bruise on one of his wings. Paco suggests that the room might not be safe for Ricky, recommending they find another space for him to avoid injuries. Later, they call the doctor to treat the wound on Ricky's wing. After an examination, the doctor shows them an X-ray, explaining that while Ricky's wings could be surgically removed, it would be a painful but safe procedure. When Paco asks what would happen if they decided not to remove the wings, the doctor warns that Ricky's body might wither away over time if they don't act. Later, Lisa is in her room cutting papers when she suddenly feels the urge to cut Ricky's wings with her scissors. Hearing someone coming, she quickly runs to bed and pretends to be asleep. She watches as Paco enters, pins the sheet over Ricky's crib. Paco later suggests to Katie that they let reporters take videos of Ricky to make money and get a better house. Katie accuses him of wanting to profit off Ricky, but Paco reminds her that she had once accused him of hurting their son. Reluctantly, Katie agrees to the plan. The next day, they take Ricky outside outside, tie a string to his leg, and allow reporters to take pictures. However, Katie accidentally lets go of the string, and Ricky flies away toward a nearby lake. Everyone chases after him, but he disappears, leaving Katie devastated. As night falls, the doctor joins the search, but they can't find Ricky. Katie sits by the lake, unable to move, and Paco tells Lisa to stay with her mom, admitting to the doctor that he feels responsible. The next day, Lisa and Paco hand out flyers with Ricky's picture. At breakfast, Katie is distant and rushes to the window whenever she hears a noise, hoping it's Ricky. Paco tries to comfort her, suggesting that Ricky might have flown somewhere else and may never come back. Katie asks if Paco thinks Ricky is dead, but he reassures her that it's unlikely. Later, Katie walks to the lake, planning to drown herself. Just as she's about to give up, she hears a noise and sees Ricky flying in the sky. She gently approaches him, apologizes for letting the string go, and tells him how beautiful he looked while flying. After talking, Ricky flies away again, and Katie watches him with a smile. The next morning, Lisa and Paco are having breakfast when Katie, wet from the lake, comes home. She tells them she forgot her keys, and when Paco asks why she's soaked, she doesn't answer, but instead hugs them both, saying she loves them. Later, a pregnant Katie smiles as she watches Paco take Lisa to school on her bike, and Lisa happily holds onto Paco as they ride off together. Thanks for watching.